taking care of patients shouldn't come at the cost of your own body, but for many doctors, it does. Today, we're exploring what's possible in just 5 minutes. If you had just 5 minutes between patients, could you actually do something meaningful for your body? Today, we're going to show you how. If you're a doctor, healthcare leader, or patient, you belong here. I'm Kim Downey, and this is Stand Up for Doctors Conversations at the Intersection of Connection, Courage, and the Future of Healthcare. This episode is sponsored by Brian Case at Direct Wealth Care, helping physicians navigate the financial stress no one talks about in medicine with conflict free tools and resources. And I would like to welcome back Shirish Sachdeva. Thanks for joining us today, Shirish.
Thank you, Kim, for having me. This is a great time to join you. And we're celebrating the week of lifestyle medicine for the next whole week. So I think this is pretty timely to bring in more limelight on exercises. So thank you for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. Exactly. So, yes, the timing is perfect. And by way of a very brief introduction, Shirish Sachdeva has a doctorate in physical therapy. He's also board certified in lifestyle medicine. He's a speaker, researcher, entrepreneur, author, editor, and more. You like do it all. So, what would you most like our audience to know about you as we begin our conversation?
Well, Kim, I think for myself, I am engaged in, as you said, multiple different things, predominantly encouraging people on preventive care. Physical therapy is a passion that I have lived for the last 16 years. So, embedding the two things together with lifestyle medicine, physical therapy, taking care of yourself, I think that that would be the take-home message from this episode, as well as I think my career as well.
Yeah, well, that's great. So I've had you on before, and then we also collaborated on a podcast with Kevin MD, and you shared a statistic about the percentage of doctors who exercise, and it was lower than some might guess.
Yeah, so I think what you're relating to, yes, I do remember that. It was Dr. Kevin Fo's podcast where we talked about an Eastern study that was probably in Japan somewhere, which I think they evaluated about 6,700 healthcare workers in a single hospital. And what they had found that it was a study on metabolic syndrome, and what they found that physicians had led that statistic of how many people had metabolic syndrome, and that statistic was a higher percentage, was I think 18.2% or so for them. And they were leading the charge. The rest of the clinicians were on the back end of it. So it does show obviously that physicians do get burdened with everyday routine. And I think nurses were next. So it just blends in all different healthcare professionals and suggests that we need to bring in self-care, exercising, nutrition talks more between all our clinicians, particularly physicians.
Absolutely, and with a shout out to our friend ZL too, he did collaborate with us on that article and podcast, and we'll
Yes.
probably
Thank
have
you, Z.
future collaborations. So I was
Absolutely.
thinking if a doctor only has 5 minutes and
Mm.
take it away.
Absolutely. So what we're going to discuss today is how we can condense these exercises, because one of the biggest myths that comes into play is I don't have time. And yes, everybody has 24 hours, but prioritization of your own health is at the extreme pinnacle of, providing health to others. So that said, when you only have 5 minutes, I'm going to bring in some exercises today that are kind of clubbed into different parts, upper extremity, neck and spine, lower extremity, lower back, and core, as well as some balance and stretching exercises. We'll kind of look at them, and I would suggest you to pick and choose what you can do in 5 minutes, with most of them can be split out. And you can say, okay, I want to do like, 10 reps in the next, 5 minutes for these five exercises. And it would particularly work out and kind of cover up the area. So whatever your deficient zones are in the body, or you do a mix and match. So we're going to go with that. So here we start with a presentation. And I know for your listening audience, we're going to describe these exercises. So, but I would suggest that all people, if you want to take the best benefit of this podcast, do watch it on YouTube. So you get the videos about how these exercises are done, what's the relevant points around it. So as we go around here, I do have a disclaimer to bring up. And the disclaimer is that, all exercises are quite general and very basic that I'm going to bring up. So they're not very new to especially your medical audience. But I would still suggest if you find yourself having any sorts of pains, aches while you perform these exercises, make sure to talk to your physical therapist, your physician. I know sometimes, me myself included, clinicians tend to be bad patients. So we tend to push our own health a little bit further out and say, okay, I'll go to the doctor when the next step arrives, when the next step arrives. And when that keeps happening, we reach quite far out into our own health's non-benefits. So therefore, make sure to please, not push yourself into pain with any of these exercises. The first one that I would go on with is the upper extremity. So we're talking about shoulder shrugs. Most of us, we carry some of our strains into our shoulders. Now, be it physical activity, physical strain, or be it a psychosocial strain that you are just in a high tension environment, a lot of these muscles carry these strain, and we're talking about traps, levators. So, performing a very simple shrug and a relaxation motion can be helpful for our body, right? These can help in strengthening these muscles, reducing the muscle tone, relaxing them out, and reducing pain and poor posture. So performing certain repetitions, 5 to 10 repetitions, just bringing your shoulders back up and relaxing them. And also sometimes I tell people to add on some breathing with it. So if you're shrugging up your shoulders, make sure to kind of breathe in deep. And then when you relax, you breathe out through your mouth. Now, these exercises can be modified. You can use dumbbells if you feel like, just regular shrugs are too easy for you. You can do something called an isometric hold where you bring up your shoulders and you hold it like my picture is holding it right now. That's a pretty long hold, by the way. So I wouldn't have you hold it that long, but 3 to 5 seconds hold is great enough. Next one I'm going to touch on is something called a shoulder roll. Now, this exercise touches many, many muscles in the upper body. Again, it's a posture related exercise. You can do shoulder rolls in forward or backward motion. And I would suggest both, especially if you don't have any issues. But if you do have particular, let's say, neck pain and so on and so forth, my preference for most people is to kind of do those backward rolls because a lot of us shrug our shoulders forward. We do those computer activities. We bring our pectoral muscles really tight. So in this case, backward rolls are great. But then again, you'd notice there's a tons of muscles that are involved in this one particular exercise. So it's really good. And again, if you're looking at these videos and you're trying to perform these exercises side by side, make sure to pause the video if you want to look at what these exercises are focused on. And that way you can relate to what you're working on with. Again, some benefits of this exercise include posture control and relaxation. The third one I'll touch on is called scap retraction or scapular retraction. It's kind of that modification of the shoulder roll, which my shoulder roll kind of takes a lot more exercises into it. But this one focuses predominantly on the posterior chain muscles. As you notice how it kind of pinches the shoulder blades. I tell people or patients in our clinic, think of it like you have a pencil between your shoulder blade and you're trying to pinch it as you're trying to do these shoulder pinches. It's a really good exercise for anyone who works, let's say, in front of a computer or writes a lot. I would say this is an exercise that I tell people to kind of even combine sometimes with looking up and try and perform this every hour. So 5 to 8 repetitions done every hour. Really good in trying and breaking that monotonous tone of your neck muscles and strain as well. After this one, we're going to move on towards some strengthening. So again, the same muscles that we were trying to now use just without any kind of resistance, you can bring in resistance. So you can be creative. You can use dumbbells, you can use TheraBands or stretchy bands. You don't have to use them if you don't have the availability, but these are things that can be packed in your regular bag in one corner. So it's not a very heavy environment you have to create for yourself. This could be just hanging around your pocket in one band, and you can just pick it out in one of your breaks, and you can do these exercises. The movement goes forward and backward, pulling onto the shoulder blades. And again, this type of workout, it does increases your strength. And again, you notice on the image here that shows how many different ways can be used to perform this one exercise for this one group of muscles. So you can use just the floor, lay down, raise your arm up, or you can stretch with a band, or you can just do a straight motion. You can do it while sitting, standing. It is quite flexible on how you want to make it happen. So make sure to kind of use this as one of your workouts. The next one we're touching again in the upper body still, it's kind of that circumduction motion. So this is a real complex movement. It is also kind of a stretch for a lot of movements and a lot of muscles around our body in the upper body area and the neck area. It really helps in creating a complex mechanism of contraction and relaxation between your shoulder blade and shoulder girdle. So very simple exercise can be performed with smaller circles or larger circles. So you can make something as small, let's say if your shoulder is hurting, you can create a really small circles, or you can expand it out gradually to make a larger circle. Repetitions can even gain from a 3 circle on each side to, let's say, a 5 to 8 circle. Again, we're using these as snack bites. So remember that we're not doing 30 repetitions to bump it on and just kind of do a really massive endurance number. We're trying to create a momentum of movement throughout the day. So it's really snacking all through the day that we're trying to create on these exercises. So they can be performed forward circles or backward circles. So both movements can be done. And another one, now we're moving on towards the neck. So from upper body, still in the upper body, but into the neck zone, you're doing these regular rotations. I really like these. And frankly, I perform them every hour myself. At times I had, how I created this habit for myself was to have a chime app in my phone, and that chime app would, buzz in my phone every hour. And it would be a reminder for me to try to do that neck motion and relax these muscles out. So it could be a good reminder for anyone using, let's say your phone buzzes for a message, train yourself on that, or anything else on your iPhone, on your watch, or on your, any kind of different device that you can think of and track it. Again, it's really good workout to reduce strain in your neck and improve flexibility in your neck rotators, and it gives you full range of motion. And as you see, these involve a lot more different muscles. Moving on to side bending is kind of an adjunct to it. So as you do these side bends, you kind of work on your upper traps, you still work on your levators, and you work on all other different muscles, including deeper muscles like scalenii and so on and so forth, and SCM, which is your forward flexor, rotator, and side bender. These muscles do get stiff. So making sure that we try and remind these muscles that they have other movements to perform, that they can go down in their muscle tone. They get a little break throughout the constant activation that they go through. Remember, neck muscles, they start working the moment you wake up from your bed, because our head, it weighs 5 to 8 pounds, and the head immediately creates resistance on your neck. And it works till you lay down back on bed. So if you don't give it a break, if you don't rest it out, it will not function as right as possible. So making sure you do this, it reduces symptoms of different types. The next one is extensions or looking back. Really easy movement, but think and imagine how many times do you actually look up during the day, especially if you're working in an enclosed environment. Most of the things you do are in front of you. Or if you'd like to, let's say, even pick something from the back, you would turn towards it and then pick it up. There's less amount of extension used in our neck. So therefore, these muscles create a ratio imbalance. The front bends a lot more forward while the back keeps getting stretched. So making sure that you take out time to look up. Another one we move on to, still in the neck, chin tucks. This is one of my favorite. Again, what it does, it basically creates those small, deep muscles in your neck work harder and pull your neck backwards, and creating a best postural mechanics in your spine, upper spine. It strengthens those deep flexors as well of your head and neck, and it improves posture, and it reduces any kind of strain that builds up. It also aligns your spinal column and the spinal canal as well. So many times when people have these neck pains that are based on stenosis or disc bulges, this chin tucking helps in reducing that process. So my favorite place to do this is in my car. I sit in the car. Every time I plug the car on, I would push about 2 or 3 times back into the headrest. Makes my chin tuck work so easy. So this is something to kind of, just bring into your daily routine. As we move on from the neck, we go into the lower body. Now, here we go. We're talking about standing marches. It's a good cardio, actually, when you start with standing marches. So you could use this as just a starting workout if someone is just trying to build some blood flow. So definitely can be done anywhere. You're standing, you're just marching left, right, left, right. Make sure you get to about 10, 15 reps of that. And then you move on to the next one where you're doing something called a hip three-way. This side kicking motion of your hips is the first startup I like to go with. And again, it's controlling something called hip abductors. And all you're trying to do is these muscles actually do not get used a lot. They control you, they keep you stable, they make you help move in the straight line when your other primary muscles are working hard. And sometimes, obviously, they help you rotate, but they need special attention. And these are one of the main groups that lead to weakness in your pelvis and core. So, something as simple as that kicking out motion can help you prevent a lot of trouble in the future with tendonitis, tendinosis, bursitis, all these clinical different diagnoses that we see in our clinics. They get reduced by just training these muscles. Another one in that hip three-way is kicking out forward. Well, you wouldn't believe how many people I get with hip flexor weakness. These muscles are so weak, even though we walk and we use these muscles so much, but these muscles are easily weakened out through our life and age. We kind of go through the sarcopenia a lot. And similarly, kicking backward creates that balance of motion. So the hip three ways encounters these three movements, forward, backward, and sideways. So make sure to balance them out as you do it on both sides. Next one we go for. Again, you're looking at hip three-way, but now you're progressing out, right? You're getting bands out into the picture. Use a band, do those kicks out. You can do, around without the band. You can build up to a band, and these bands come in different resistances, so you can choose and progress as you go. Another one, now this kind of just like shoulder circles, this is your hip mobility circles. Now, to give you a little contrast, shoulder joint is the most mobile joint and one of the least stable joints in our body, while hip joint is the quite stark opposite. It's one of the least, it's the most stable and the least mobile joint as well. But again, it has circumductory abilities. It can actually rotate that much. Having that in the picture, we sometimes, especially if we are in just sedentary mode in our day, or we are moving or just kind of walking around and not doing much of different combinations of movements, we lose some of this circumductory ability for our joints, especially in the hips. So therefore, and hip being so compressible joint, its ligaments and tissues require the stretching. Circumduction is a good way during your day that you can easily stretch out these muscles. And again, be cautious about how much you push. You can create small circles if you feel that larger circles are a straight up strain onto your hip. So make sure to kind of start with small baby steps as you go with these exercises. And again, it's also, if you notice, it's kind of a balance workout too. As you're kind of turning your leg in and out, you're standing on the other leg. So it's not like the other leg's not doing anything. The other leg is actually taking control of your body with 100% body weight. So definitely a lot of benefits come towards balance, control, as well as strengthening. And again, if you are putting some numbers into it, you build endurance with it as well, right? And obviously it brings lower body control and reduces back pain. So making sure that this is one of your lower extremity workouts. Another one I would go with, calf raises. My goodness, this is such lovely exercise, frankly, because of one of the muscle groups that we have in there, that hidden muscle called soleus. It's called the second heart of the body. It's one of your calf muscles of the four muscles that we have in our calf, right? You've got your two gastrocs, you got your soleus, and you got your plantaris. Now that soleus has the force, and the reason it's called the second heart is because the force of contraction it generates, a single contraction of that muscle can actually push the blood against gravity straight into the heart without any need for any other contraction. So therefore, performing calf raises is a really good way to get blood flow through your legs. So let's say you've been sitting a lot, or let's say you've been standing a lot. If you're doing your notes, this is one of my go-tos. I sometimes just do calf raises while I'm standing and working on my desk, just completing notes for the day. So it's a good way to activate these muscles and also strengthen your lower body, again, giving you more control. Another one we go for. Now we're moving into the spine now. So we got our spinal extensions, right? This is a very good exercise. Just like we did our neck extensions, we want our back to create those deep muscle extensor abilities as well. So we want range, we want some strength, we want the ability to try and control the back. Again, it's a ratio balancing workout. Our back muscles, our postural muscles, they also start working every day, every, till the evening. So they need to get muscle tone back into them. So some stretchability allows flexibility, but also creates contraction. And this contraction leads to muscle tone, giving you a subtle level of postural control, which if you're not engaging into them consciously or mindfully, you lose that posture control and you start slouching gradually into your chair, not even realizing that the slouch is happening. So therefore, these group of muscles require an active, mindful, controlled movement. So as we do this, we want to bring in a regular routine on that as well. Again, an hourly routine is great. Now, side bends, this is again, it's a stretch, it's a flexibility workout, it's also a training workout and a control workout. If you'd notice how many muscle groups are being used in this one single stretch to one side, it's just mind-blowing. You use contractile muscles on one side where you're bending, but you're stretching the other side, creating flexibility benefits. And again, if I put in breathing exercises in this concept, it starts bringing in a lot more cardiovascular rhythm and even to a certain degree, a mindful control of your heart rhythm because you are breathing in a very efficient manner and you're focused on your breathing. So combine all of these, it becomes really good workout and even a relaxing workout, to say the least. So you're training, your flexibility is getting better, and you're getting relaxed. I mean, how much benefit could you get from one exercise? So as the side bend workout goes on, again, it's a complex movement between your other exercises as well. So make sure to bring in repetitions from side to side on both sides and do not push into pain. This one is also one of my favorite. Trunk rotations can be done in any position, right? Frankly, standing is the easiest if you're already working out. And again, on similar track, tons of muscles are being used all the way from the core into the buttocks and the legs as you are standing and doing this movement. So side to side rotation, again with breathing involved, is really good, which brings in couples of different benefits from flexibility to strength to control and balance. And it's a part of your daily stretch routine, right? And repetitions are same. I think you can bring in easy under 10 reps for this one. Now, this one, the sitting trunk control is being talked about. Similar benefits come through, but the difference here is that once you're sitting, you kind of lock your pelvis. So as the pelvis gets kind of weight controlled under the body weight, now the more focus comes in from the thoracic or the middle and upper back as far as rotation is concerned. The lower back moves and rotates a little bit lesser than standing. So therefore, this can be utilized for someone who has more mid back pain rather than lower back pain. And you can try to prioritize this. Or let's say you just don't have the ability to stand and do anything. You're sitting at a counter or you're sitting somewhere where you just don't have the ability to stand and do the workout. You can easily incorporate the sitting movement with this and perform the side-to-side movements. And again, anywhere between 3 to 5 movements with some breathing involvement in there performs a really good rib stretch as well as the spine stretch for the body. Now we're focusing a little bit more on to directly straight balance control. And the first one we talk about is single leg balance. And again, here I would want to bring in slight knee flexion as well. A single leg balance, let's say if there's a difficulty, one can do it without slight knee flexion, but again, adding that slight knee flexion is a better way to do it where you challenge the balance a little bit more. And you hold anywhere from 10 seconds, 15 to 20 seconds out with each leg. My normal lovely point is 10 seconds, so you can do it alternatingly from each side, and therefore you can do about 10 reps of each. Or if you are in a hurry, you can do 5, and do a total 10 reps with 10 seconds holds. So you've got about 50 seconds in there for each. And the control that this brings in all the way starts from your calf muscles into the hamstring, quads, as well as the pelvis as well. So it drops and reduces something called a Trendelenburg sign, which basically what we look at is where the pelvis drops on one side when you're trying to balance yourself. So it creates a good postural control on your hip and your pelvis and lower back muscles as well, which can then be useful throughout your day. So it's just a good way to remind your muscles to create that balance. The next one for balance and control is kind of where you're bringing in that toe standing or the calf raises, blend it with your neck exercise and start looking side to side. One of the ways this is useful is because the spine and all our joints overall in the body, and especially the neck, they have these sensors called mechanoreceptors. Mechanoreceptors are useful in creating an information pathway between the joints and your balancing brain, which is your cerebellum. So now, when you are challenging that cerebellar information by turning your head side to side while standing on an unbalanced platform, which in this case becomes your toes, the brain has to work harder to create balance for you because it's a changing movement environment as you're turning your head side to side. Now it's engaging more muscles to give you that control. So now you're using different muscle groups from your neck and your calf, lower body, everything's working together and creating that balance. So it's a pretty neat exercise where you challenge higher quality balance by just standing in one, spot, really not taking any space and not performing anything complex. Another exercise I want to bring up is a very pure, straightforward hamstring stretch. No, nothing special about it. If you have a strap, you do something like that, where you're trying to hook the strap onto your foot and you're trying to lift the leg straight up. A sweet spot time is at bare minimum about 30 seconds holds. But again, if you're unable to do a 30-second hold starting up, a 10-second hold can be gradually progressed on to 30 and maybe even beyond. Anywhere up to a minute is a great stretch. Anything between 30 seconds to a minute creates a longer lasting effect on such stretches. And this goes for most of the stretches if you'd want to look at just creating flexibility. And alternating the stretch is really great. So even if you're performing anywhere from 2 or 3 stretches, if you're time bound, then that's a great way to do this on different 3 muscles, as you see in here: biceps femoris, semitendinosus, and semimembranosus. These are the 3 hamstring muscles that you would notice that get stretched out. And in this particular stretch, what I also notice is that you can combine a calf stretch. So as your foot is being hooked up with a strap, if you're pulling the strap and letting your calf relax, you would have a combination of calf stretch and hamstring stretch all together. There's a word of caution here. Just make sure that while you're stretching this, you're not getting any type of tingling, numbing sensations or any kind of electrifying sensations in your calf, leg, or so on and so forth. All you should be feeling is an uncomfortable stretching feeling, and that's more than it. If you're getting any sort of other sensation that doesn't feel like a stretch, well, you might want to bring down that leg a little bit and calm that sensation down, because what might be happening is you're stretching your sciatic nerve or and creating a little irritation and annoyance for that. And again, if it's a consistent thing that happens, please make sure to reach out to your healthcare provider and discuss that out and reduce any kind of annoyance to your nerves in this process. So that's pretty much, I think, Kim, as I wanted to talk about all these different exercises. And I think that brings in about 2024 exercises that we talked about in this short amount of time that we had. So I wanted to bring this focus. And in this next week, Wednesday is particularly the physical activity focus day. So if you can, frankly, every day is physical activity focus day, but if you can, remind yourselves of that and perform some of these exercises as you would like and choose what you would want.
Well,
Over
thank
to
you.
you, Kim.
Yeah, thank you so much. This was fantastic. And exercise snacks are the best kind of snack for doctors and patients. So these are exercises that doctors can use for themselves. And as you've demonstrated, you don't need a lot of space, you don't need a lot of time. And there's one doctor I saw on LinkedIn who every patient he sees, he has a prescription pad and he writes them a prescription to exercise for 20, 30 minutes. So this would be perfect for any doctors that want to recommend some basic exercises for their patients, of course, avoiding anything that would be contraindicated for a specific patient. And I love the way that you also talked about habits and pairing it with something else. You know how there's certain ones when you're in the car and you do your chin tucks, or I think that's a great idea is forming habits around exercise and pairing it with something else. So this was terrific. Is there anything that you'd like to add?
Well, I just want to say one more thing. Like, how we think that we require a specific environment, we require clothing for exercise, we require gadgets for exercises. This kind of breaks that norm and says you can do this only with your own body and tiny amount of space and time. It all requires habitual thinking, mindful thinking towards this, and just keeping yourself at a higher priority throughout the day. And there was a study by Alexis et al. In 2025, just in December last year. And what they did was they published about the same question. They basically said this was like a group of people from Romania and from India. And what they questioned was, would people exercise snack if given to them as an option? The answer was a big yes. And the rationale that they came out with was it was less threatening to their schedule, it
Mhm.
was time efficient. It didn't take them out of what they were already doing. So it made it kind of seamless with the whole process. So those were the reasons why people wanted to adopt exercise snacking rather than, having a 30, 40 minute of an appointment in a gym. Not that this replaces gym workout. So I would, encourage everyone to do exercises the way they would want to do. But this is an additional way how you can get the benefits of, let's say, a 20-minute workout but split in 5 sessions or 4 sessions, you can easily get that benefit of 20 minutes even throughout the day. So it doesn't have to be in one single go. So there are definitely so many benefits to exercise snacking, and it does kind of bring in the long-term health to your tissues because you're not taking them to the limits of burnout. You're not waiting for them to crash and then you're trying to make work on it and improve them. You are giving them these small little diabetes diets type exercise snacks all through the day, and they are recovering from this whole process readily throughout the day.
Well, this is great. Thank you again for being my guest today. And you've shared a lot. Did you have any other take-home action message for our audience?
Well, no, I think this is the message for tonight, and basically just make sure that you continuously take care of yourself, prioritize your own health. Only then you can help others in this field of healthcare. And if you want to last longer for years and decades, make sure to start today.
Fully agree. So try an exercise snack today. So
Absolutely.
if today's conversation resonated with you, please like and subscribe. And you can find some stories in our White Coats book series that doctors would appreciate hearing. And for those called to go deeper and learn more of how they can self care for themselves and their colleagues will be gathering this October at our inaugural physician retreat and would be honored to have you join us. And links are in the show notes, including how to reach out to you. And please reach out if you're interested in sponsoring one or more episodes. It truly sustains this work. More information about sponsorship is also in the show notes. And in closing, to move the needle in healthcare, we all need to raise our voices and we all need to care about each other. We already know that doctors need to care about patients. Patients need to care about doctors too. So stand up, doctors, and let's stand up for doctors.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.